Hey friends, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Maddie, a strategic designer and current creative resident at Adobe. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through the different types of transitions in mobile screen design and when to use each one. Like all rules in design, these can certainly be broken in certain scenarios and these shouldn't be applied too rigidly, but I still think they're a really good place to start. Let's start with the fun one, actual motion animations. In Adobe XD, this is called auto-animate, and basically what the feature does is it takes one screen and the screen that you're going to animate into, and it just looks at what differs between the elements on each screen and animates the difference. So it looks like a morphing and really smooth animation without having to do much work. I want to start here because many designers are tempted to use auto-animate for everything, and it's really important to use it only in the correct scenarios. So when should you use auto-animate? Do use auto-animate when you're revealing a new element on the same page. So you're not going from page to page, but you're just revealing something new within the same context. Do use auto-animate when transitioning to a page where one element, which is the main focus, appears on both pages. This gives the user context that this element is still going to be important on the next page and helps keep their focus on that element. Do not use auto-animate when transitioning to a completely different screen in a completely different context. It doesn't make sense to use auto-animate when there are no elements in common when moving from one screen to the next. Next are right and left transitions. These are called slide or push, which I use interchangeably because they're really similar. These are really important in helping the user stay oriented within the architecture of the app. At least in the US, where we read from left to right, it's ingrained in our brains that we start on the left, and when we turn the page to go a little bit deeper, then that information is coming from the right side into our field of vision. Let's look at an example. Here we have a menu of items. If I tap into one of these, the incoming screen should slide left because it should feel like it's coming from the right. Then I should have the option to go back to the previous level of information, and that transition should be a slide right so that it feels like it's coming in from the left. To sum up, do use right and left transitions when you're going to narrow or broaden your focus of the information presented. Do not use this type of transition if you're not moving the user to a different screen. Next is up and down slide or push transitions. This one's a little bit trickier to explain and state specific rules around, but in my mind there are two common scenarios in which you would use this type of transition. First is when entering into a brand new context where you won't have the option to go back. So for example, coming out of a splash screen or login screen. To transition into the actual content of the app, you'd probably use a slide up or down transition to reveal the home screen. If you used a slide left, then it would imply that the user can swipe to go back, and that's not actually the case in this scenario. Another example of this is revealing a new element within the same screen, such as a keyboard or a modal. It's most natural for these things to slide up into the screen from the bottom. Lastly, I want to make it clear that not all transitions need to have animations. It's really easy to get excited and animate everything in the app that you're designing, but the truth is that that will actually take away from the experience. It won't add to it. Switching tabs is the most common example of this. It's the most appropriate transition because in this case, you're actually moving into a completely different context each time you switch tabs. Therefore, it would be confusing to use any other type of transition. Okay, I certainly didn't cover every single use case in this video, but I still hope that it was helpful. And feel free to comment below if you have a specific question or scenario where you want my 2 cents on what transition would be the most appropriate. If you like this video, check out my playlist of Adobe XD tutorials where I use auto-animate in a bunch of different ways. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!